It's the podcast that shakes and stirs up pharmacy. Welcome to PBM on the Rocks.
I had the opportunity to introduce and share about Datascan. And so I just, wanted to give you a chance to just sort of say, like, what's your secret? Why is it that when people talk to you, they come away absolutely thrilled and they don't really so much do that with other software carriers? And I really mean that. This may sound like some planted question. It is not. This is the most honest, authentic thing I can possibly say about any of the service providers we've met over the last many years in this industry.
Well, so I'm a very honest person. You will find that people love our company. You'll find that people love us. You will find that people love Sarah way more than me because as I'm getting older and we've grown, I will say that normally when I have to get involved in a problem, it's usually because everybody else couldn't calm the person down. So you will find those folks out there that don't love me, and I understand why. But I will say this. The reason people love us is the same reason that your customers love your pharmacy. I mean, it's a no-brainer, I always like to, every time I think about like a chain pharmacy versus an independent pharmacy or Datascan versus today almost anybody we compete against, I always think to banks. And the reason I think to banks is because for years, I used to do business with a locally owned bank here. Like the guy who owns it lives not far from where I live now. He owned it. And when he sold it to Capital One, everything went to shit. When I'm dealing with a small bank, I get that level of service that you'll never get with a big company because it's all red tape. And let's face it, I don't care how well you think they know you, they don't know you like when you're dealing with that small hometown bank or that small hometown pharmacy. So when you look at Datascan, we are a fraction of the size of our competitors because today the majority of our competitors, they've all sold off and they've merged with other competitors of ours. So now you have companies that, they might own 5, 6 different software companies, that they're trying to support across the board. And so instead of them having, 500, 800, 1,000 accounts, they might be supporting 8,000 accounts. Same idea goes for independent pharmacy. If you're doing CVS volume with CVS corporate red tape and everybody's worried about making a mistake and being sued, right? Nobody has the time to sit there and talk to you and help you the way your independent pharmacy will. We all know it's a different game, right? I mean, you can walk into Walgreens or CVS and then go into any independent pharmacy, and I don't care what you tell me. It's always a different feel. It's always a different sense of who gives a shit about you and who doesn't and what they're willing to do for you. You walk in with your child into an independent pharmacy and they see that you're not feeling well, they're filling your prescription right there. They're not going to make you come back for it, all right? That's not an option in a chain pharmacy, And so that is obviously something that you as an independent pharmacy owner know. And that's why people love us, because you're looking at the only owner here in the company, and you're looking at Sarah, my vice president, who is second in command. So, and we're very accessible. But again, that's why they love you, as an independent pharmacy owner too. It's the same idea.
Yeah. And I mean, that's getting lost in your space just as much as it is with ours, with all the consolidation. You're what? At this point, the last independent software company left?
We are. So we're the oldest independently owned software company. I came in to buy the company 15 years ago. So I'm a second generation, like a lot of my clients are. A lot of my independent pharmacy owners are second generation. And then there are a few other independently owned software vendors currently on the market. SpeedScript is one of them. There's a few small ones. RX Master. VIP, Jim who owns VIP is a great guy. I'm friendly with Jim that owns SRS out of Michigan. But there are very few left that are independent. And a lot of people don't even know who they're doing business with anymore.
Yeah. Private equity, they get their claws into everything. And it's the same with a lot of the other software vendors. And that's why, Pioneer sucks now. Like it used to be pretty good. It is terrible. And that's why I'm moving over to Datascan.
I got to tell you, so it's funny because Pioneer is the only company we ever fought with, because years ago when they wanted to promote themselves, they started a website called pharmacysoftwarereviews.com. In the beginning, me and a couple of the owners suspected they owned it. They tried to separate themselves from ownership and pretend they had nothing to do with it. But then they started messing with us. They started taking features away from us, and a bunch of stuff started happening. And we ended up in a big fight with them. And then eventually they kind of started to, they had to legally start kind of semi-disclosing ownership, but they do it in a very small way. So today, when you go online and you search for pharmacy software reviews or, best pharmacy software out there, a lot of people are driven to this website. And of course, when you look at it, if every single metric, if not, I would say almost every single, if not every, or all of them on there, Pioneer comes out on top. Well, they own it. And you'll notice that QS1 performs very poorly on there. Well, they bought QS1. And so this is kind of an easy way to sunset it. They stopped all QS1 marketing. They're bashing their own company, essentially, because, the ratings are horrible on their own website, because it's a way to say, you know what, we're not going to get any new customers on here. And who knows, eventually we've heard rumors that they're telling people that they might be, sunsetting the product sometime in the future. That's what we're hearing from QS1 users. And that's popular in this industry. A lot of these companies we used to compete against. What people don't really understand, a lot of people don't understand when you say the word private equity. They don't know what it is. And so, private equity, my cousin sold his software company for a ton of money years ago. And he's invested in a lot of private equity. And the idea behind private equity is they're going to get private investors to bring in big bucks. And it's nothing that's on any public market. And then they're going to disclose and show you, okay, these are the investments we're looking to do. We're going to take your money and put it in. And the risk is much higher than putting it into the market, because you could lose everything that you put into it. But the reward potential is also much greater. But when you think about the logic behind it, right? You have all these investors, and what do you have to do for them? You have to make them money. Well, how do you make them money? Well, in this industry, while there are people still opening independent pharmacies, it is not outpacing those that are being closed, right? Even the chains are closing pharmacies, right? So you get to a point where you have all this market saturation, and now you either have to find a way to take customers from your competitors, which is getting tougher and tougher, especially if you don't have amazing ratings and you're not out there being spoken about in a positive way, if you're not able to give your customers the level of service you used to. So what happens? We have to raise your prices, not me, them, and they cut costs. They start to let go of people potentially. They start to consolidate. And the idea is every 4 to 6 years, they want to flip that business for another multiple, make their investors the money. Okay, now we've already seen it happen. RX30 sold to a private equity firm called GTCR. They swallowed up Computer RX. Then they turned around and I think they bought another 1 or 2 small companies, and boom, they sold to the private equity firm that owns them now, which is really technically BlackRock. Okay, BlackRock is the parent company that owns the company that owns RX30, Computer RX, and a few other companies, few other businesses. Sarah, what are the ones that they buy?
Prescribe Wellness, Outcomes. They just continue to kind of expand
they
the reach.
Keep following up all these companies and merging them together to make this huge conglomerate. But you got to give those investors that return and hopefully be able to sell it in a few years. And so, we are seeing what's good for us and bad for the customers is you're all paying more fucking money. They're charging you more money and nobody's looking at their bills, or they can't decipher their bills, or, so all of a sudden it's like we've done 2 price increases in the last 15 years. And if you look at what my average customer paid 15 years ago versus today, they're maybe paying an average of $35 to $40 more a month in 15 years.
You're looking at Pioneer and they're charging you for every single cash claim that you run. We're getting nickel and dime left and right, and you just don't keep up with it. And before you know it, you're paying out the ass for this pharmacy software. And then you all come along and it's like, oh shit, I would save $600 a month switching over to you all. Like, it's insane.
That's the crazy part. People don't realize it. Like, a lot of people don't realize, like, for example, like you said, that Pioneer RX now, they're charging what they call, Sarah, what is it called again? Is it an RX success fee?
Completion fee.
An RX completion fee. And so they're turning around and saying, well, we're only charging you a penny for switching, right? For the communication. But if that prescription gets sold, which is obviously your goal. How much restocks do you do in a month? I'm sure that hopefully it's a very small number. That means the majority of your prescriptions that you're filling a month, you're now paying an additional 8.6 cents, and that includes cash prescriptions. Well, there's how you build profitability into your business, especially with the volume of customers they're servicing. All right. And so now it's like, well, who's going to buy them? I'm sure their profitability is through the absolute roof once they did that. I mean, if I did that to my customers, even at my volume, I would make 6 figures more a year, but I can't do that with good conscience. And let's face it, my whole spiel, my whole, whatever you want to call it, our
mantra.
Our mantra is, like, we get it. You guys are getting fucked left and right. We're not here to do that to you. You have the PBMs in your pockets. Your reimbursements are down. You've got the chains breathing down your necks trying to take every goddamn dime of business from you. The last thing you need is your software vendor screwing you too. So like we always say, if we could generate and work with other vendors for these third-party programs out there that help with additional revenue streams, if we could share that revenue with you, we do. We tell our clients that. Or sometimes, it's a data resale situation, or it's, maybe we're getting ready to launch a new cash AI pricing program with the company. Like, these are things that help us generate additional profits so that I can keep paying my good staff more money, keep paying for their health insurance that's going through the roof just like everyone else's, pay for the additional everything, the insurance that's through the roof, all that. And I don't have to touch your monthly fees but once in a blue moon. And let's face it, the last few years, everything is through the roof. Inflation is rampant. And you know what? We're not here hosing our customers because I don't want them to feel like I'm just another jerk putting my hand in their pocket.
Yeah, and that's the thing is right now, credibility goes so much further than it ever has in this industry because we have been nickel and dimed. We've been sold out left and right, and it's happened so much, especially past the last decade and a half. So whenever pharmacists and pharmacy owners encounter companies with credibility that actually take care of them, that means a lot to them.
I mean,
you think like we think, and that's what I love about
Yes.
our relationship. Putt and Datascan have a really good relationship, and why is because we are always collectively thinking about the end user, the community pharmacy, and then the people who use the community pharmacy. You're not in this to become a billionaire, trillionaire, quadrillionaire. You're in this for the right reason. You're in this to be of service. And I think if I remember correctly, Kevin, I think that's a family legacy, right? Your dad started this company and that was his philosophy of business.
My father immigrated here from Bulgaria in the mid 1960s, and Bulgaria was communist. People will say, oh, my family came here with nothing. My grandparents, my father, and my aunt literally had to lie and say they had a sick aunt in Lebanon, live in Lebanon for 9 months, and then legally immigrate here. When my father came to this country, he was a car mechanic. He was a machinist. My father was always good with his hands and could always teach himself anything, learn anything. He's outrageous. And so, he was working for Xerox in the 70s. They were having problems with machines that they couldn't figure out. He figured out it was a design flaw. He was stuck in Manhattan one night till like 2 a.m, got home super late all the way back out to Long Island. And he showed up to work late the next morning. But, when he went to his boss and said, but I was at a client until like 1 or 2 in the morning, and I figured out the problem. I had to reverse the feed on the paper. It's a design flaw in the machine, but I found a workaround right now. His boss's answer to him was, that's good. Don't let it happen again. And my father said, that's when I realized for me to attain the American dream, that people were like that were going to step on me because I was figuring things out that they couldn't. They didn't want to look bad to their superiors. And so he went out and started a business doing citizen bands, CB radios, like for truckers, eventually saw an ad for pharmacy software and got involved with an old product that he tried to sell. It wasn't working out. Long story short, he eventually ended up buying something and then able to buy the code from it. And he taught himself how to program computers. He taught himself how to program in COBOL. Back in the early 80s, using books and stuff. He didn't go to school for it or anything. He didn't even finish the 10th grade. He did a great job with the business, but my dad was, so busy sitting behind the computer and trying to code and trying to support it. And, listen, he did amazing things for a person that never went to school for business. When I came in to buy the company, it was a blessing in disguise. The company was 28 years old at the time. It had about 150 accounts nationwide, and not even. It was really mostly here in New York and maybe one in Massachusetts and some doctors in Tennessee. Today we're in 47 states and the Bahamas. We're approaching 600 accounts, and we've slowed our growth down for a little bit because we're revamping a lot of our technology. But I told Sarah, maybe I'd like to be an 800, 1,000 account company. I don't want to be 3, 4, 5,000 account company. And I have to tell you, like, as a company, we really do phenomenal with the client base we have, because we don't have other owners. We don't have investors we have to answer to. It allows us to run the company in a very efficient way and pay my employees really well. So our employee turnover, knock on wood, is very low. In fact, one of my guys has been with the company for 32, 3 years, and quite a few of them have been with us in excess of a decade.
Wow. You know what? I want everyone listening to, especially those who went to NCPA, to compare what Kevin has just said to that pussy ass bullshit speech we got from Bread Sale CEO that was so fucking terrible at NCPA. And I booed him for you, Kevin. I booed him. It was just so meaningless, and it was like pitiful. Like, it was lame. He was like Red Cell CEO, just lame as fucking shit. It was awful. And you're a real person.
Red Cell, Craig McEwen, yeah.
Yeah, he's just up there, like, just corpo speak, just, and what can we think about motivating and this? Shut the fuck up. Like, they're not real people.
Read the room. He's not.
Read the room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can see the room, but yeah, read the room.
Because they're all big. They're all big corporate. Everything is corporate with them.
Yeah.
I have to wonder if any one of those fucking guys have ever owned a small business, put their employees first. Let me tell you something. I always say, God, thank God, we do very well, but I will pay every fucking bill to every vendor and make sure I have a month's worth of my employees' salaries stocked in the bank before I ever bonus myself. I make sure everybody's paid and paid on time. I will never, and I take care of my people. I mean, Sarah knows, every year I'm giving them bonuses. I'm giving them raises all year long. I drive them nuts. So I want the business to grow in a positive way, and I want you to grow, and I want you to do better. I don't want my employees struggling paycheck to paycheck. I don't want them to come in and do their job and be miserable, because then that's going to translate to the customers. Then the customers are going to hate talking to them. So, when you own a small business, you operate it very differently than when you operate in the big corporate world. And like I said, going back to big bank, small bank, I mean, anyone who's ever experienced it, it.
Yeah. And it really stands apart. And the way you all conduct yourselves, the moment I met you all on that first call, I was like, these are my people. Like, I get it. Like, I get all this. And I think that's why people have connected with you, not only because, you're going to save them a ton of money and you treat them well, but like I was saying, you're real people. And there's something to being genuine. People understand what genuine is. People feel genuine. And whenever you feel genuine to someone, they're going to trust that. They're going to go with that. And you're going to have more of an edge, especially like I was saying, in today's world right now in pharmacy, where we feel like everyone is out to screw us everywhere. So
I look at it this way. We all know that government has gotten way too big and way too fucked up, right? Because it's too many assholes trying to make a decision. Well, that's what happens with these huge companies. You have these boards and you have all these people in a room trying to make a decision. And you know what? They're not thinking about, they're not looking at the big picture and like the long term. And I'm talking 10, 15 years down the road. They're not looking at their reputation. They're looking at instantaneous. How are we going to make money? How are we going to get our investors what they need? And how are we going to get the fuck out of here in 5 or 6 years and move on to the next investment? That is not what we're doing here.
That's where. Go ahead, Sarah.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, and I think it's important to note that we're doing it because we genuinely care about doing right for our customers and letting them have an easier time running their businesses. Like, I don't think, and go back to CVS. You think CVS doesn't care if you get pissed at them and you take your prescriptions and you transfer them out? They don't care. They really don't. They're just going to go fill the next 1,000 scripts that are waiting that they're behind on. And for Kevin and for us, like, we don't want to lose a customer. We don't want them to go. We want them to want to work with us. We want to make better products, make better technology, and give it to our customers. So I think that's like an important thing to point out too. They don't give a shit.
No, they don't. Bigger's not better. It's like you all say, bigger's not better. And it's a lot of times whenever you have an organization like yours and you have solid individuals at that organization that work that hard and care that much, that makes a huge difference in lives. That makes a huge difference. I mean, in the world, in a lot of ways. It's like kind of how we operate at Putt. Like, there's a few of us just we are grinding, man. Monique out there, I don't know how she's done it for what now, Monique? 10 years?
Oh, like 1,000 years now, I think.
Yeah. And it's like, and you're out there and you're grinding, you're doing it, but you're getting so much accomplished. And you compare it to, what others are doing who may have like a ton of funding, or they may have, so much more quote unquote power or something. But, we're out here, we're one co-sponsor away from getting 50 co-sponsors on the Pharmacists Fight Back Act. And they asked us to do that just a couple of months ago. Like, you get a few motivated individuals and you give them direction, you're going to do great things. And I think that's exactly what your company is you've got some great individuals like you and Sarah there that are steering this boat, and you all are putting together something really special. And I think it's coming at a time in pharmacy where they're looking for someone like a software vendor like you all to help them out, because we're getting killed on software fees left and right out here. And I think that message and what you all have is really going to resonate with people. And that's why I push you every chance I get.
Well, and I just want to add on that too, because I think that one of the things that's just nice to hear is what it sounds like to run a business. I'm with you, Sarah. I think that, the very large corporations, not only do they not care if you transfer out your prescriptions, they probably don't notice. Like, every individual small business pharmacy knows when they lose a customer, because they worked hard to get that customer, and when that customer leaves. And I suspect if you were to lose a customer, you would know that customer. If they left, they wouldn't be one of 10 million.
If we find out that somebody wants to leave, we don't just let them leave. Like Sarah, I used to do it. Now Sarah does it. We get on the phone with them and we're like, hold on a second. Like, I hope you didn't sign the contract yet, because let's talk about this. Like, where did we screw up? Where did we go wrong? And I got to tell you, the saddest part is most of the time, the people who here's the truth. And this is the good news for us, right? Most of our customers, if they leave, it's because they sold. It's funny. It's funny. You mentioned Red Sale and all that, and they have their podcast or whatever. And I had seen one where Jeff Key, he's actually the one person in this industry. Him and I just hate each other. We just we don't like each other because of a lot of, I'm sorry, unscrupulous things that they did to us when they started that website. And like I said, I'm friends with almost everybody, all my competitors. And I look at like the crap that they pulled early on or whatever, and then I look at the stuff they're doing now, and like their podcast or whatever. I was watching it, and he was like, "Yeah, well, we charge for our mobile app, but take a look at what's out there. Look at what the competition's offering, and then look at our mobile app and tell us we shouldn't be charging for it." Well, guess what? We have one that's just as good, if not better. We're releasing all these new features in it, and I'm still never going to charge my customers for it. I will never charge my customers for that mobile app. I don't care how much it bleeds out of my pocket. I don't care how much I have to pay. We're not going to charge our customers for that. It's to me, it's that Netflix, Amazon Prime world that you need to be able to adapt to. And you as an independent pharmacy, you're nuts if you're not offering your customers that kind of convenience, and we're not going to make you pay for it.
I think people would give you a standing ovation right now. That's so perfect. I think it's like the perfect place to kind of bring the conversation to a close. And
I'm actually going to point everyone to this podcast whenever they're talking about pharmacy technology and software. I'm going to be like, listen to this exact podcast where we had Kevin and Sarah on from Datascan, and you'll see exactly why we're recommending them.
Yeah, why we love you. When Jeremy was talking about the Red Sale presentation, I was live tweeting to we have a group called the PBM Reforum, and it's pharmacy owners all over the country, and they're all part of a WhatsApp chat group, right? And I was live, tweeting this presentation, and the one that came after that one, whose speaker shall remain nameless, but we it was just one of those like, oh, here we go.
Jeremy's itching. He wants to say it. I see it in his eyes.
I'm just a sweet, innocent Jeremy. Sweet and innocent.
It may or may not have been the CEO of the NCPA speaking after
Oh,
this.
Doug,
Kevin, all of his favorite people.
Don't even get me started on Doug. Doug is best friends with them. They're close, and he ends up on their podcasts and everything.
Yeah. It's like we're not here to slam individuals, but I am just saying there is nobody out there like you guys, and I want to say kind of not endorsing, like we don't endorse, but listen, you're the first in line, and I 100% say like we would endorse you, and I personally endorse you, and because you are everything that community pharmacy is. You love your customers. You want your customers to succeed. You are not in this to nickel and dime your customers, and all this industry sees is the 100% opposite of that, and it is disgusting. And you guys are heroes, and we just
you guys can support as independent pharmacies, all independent vendors, not just independent pharmacy software vendors, not just Datascan. There are other independent, for pharmacy software systems on the market. Unfortunately, not a lot left, but like I said, you've got Jim at SRS, you've got Jim at VIP, you got Larry at RX Master, you've got Jeremy and his dad Galen over at Liberty. I mean, these are all independently owned.
Yeah, then we're trying to plug you here.
You know what though?
We're not saying they're not good. Just saying.
No, but you know what though? I think it's important, and that goes the same thing for wholesalers, for your wholesalers. Listen, I know that sometimes you need the big guys, but if you have some independent wholesalers out there that are still in your area and you can support them, think about it, man. You want your community to support you. How screwed up is it that you're going to turn around and only support big box vendors? Like, don't you want to do what you want your community to do for you? I've been saying for years that independent pharmacies to date you still have more stores than CVS and Walgreens combined. And if we could somehow, some way get you all together fighting the same fucking fight, instead of fighting it across 15 different organizations, you might get somewhere together stronger. What if each and every one of you donated $250 a month or $500 a month towards one big pack, if you will, to fight and get the right law firm behind you and go after all these bastards that are screwing you?
Right. What if there was an organization, like a pharmacist, who were united for truth and transparency?
I was about to say, Kev, what do you think we're doing right now?
but you know what? You should have them all. And
Kevin's right.
All. And that's the problem that I've always had, and I've said it, and Sarah has seen me do it, and we've actually done marketing on it, and we've always said, we're stronger together. There's strength in numbers. This is real. Like, you're fighting all these little fights and all these small little drips and drabs, but do the numbers. I laugh about it because, we're all over the country. And of course, who's the biggest ones fighting with the biggest mouths, causing the biggest ruckus? It's the New Yorkers.
Yes, it is.
You ever see those
New Yorkers
in New York? You ever see them go up to Albany and see the fights? They all wear their white coats and they stand chanting in the fucking hallway, screaming and yelling. You don't see that anywhere else. You see that here with the boys from Disney fighting and fighting and fighting the good fight. And they've
shout out Danny Dang. We love Disney.
Yeah, they shattered the nice image. That was life altering in quite a literal way for me. Being in the Capitol, they'd taken over a stairway. They were chanting. Other people were coming in like, no, it's our turn on the stairway. And they were like, not giving it up. It was like, it gives you perspective. And somebody did ask me, like, well, do you think these protests really make a difference? Because we've seen them, happen. Not quite like you see them in New York. My God, New York is like that. That is like the Super Bowl of all protests. It's phenomenal. But I think they do make a difference in terms of getting attention on the problem, and we've learned so much from New York.
The attention needs to get to the right level like, and I'm talking the executive branch of the government, because the reality is that the FTC has been asleep at the wheel for a long fucking time. And listen, when we were younger, we were taught, what a monopoly was. We were taught what the Sherman antitrust laws were. And for years, and I'm talking years, I've been saying, how the hell are they allowing this vertical mergers and vertical acquisitions? You're creating a fucking monster. And then they're like, well, we have rules in place that they're going to follow. CVS doesn't give a shit. Go Wikipedia CVS.
Remember when they talked about firewalls? like they're going to actually have a firewall between their PBM and their mail order.
Oh, yeah. Like, dude, and they don't give a shit, because it's just like Pfizer or any of these companies. It's like, well, we fucked you over and we made $3 billion, and now the government's making us pay back $500 million. We're still ahead $2.5 billion. So who gives a fuck? And
no one cares.
What companies do. They know inherently the risk that they're going to eventually get caught and be called out on it. But until then, they're still going to rape and pillage. And that is what they're doing to you guys.
They're not asleep now. Lena Khan's turned them around. It's just she's not going to be there anymore.
There's enough money for everybody to make and for everybody to do well, and also to take care of the patients at the same time. But when you're as greedy as these big companies are, it's just destroying everything, and it's hurting healthcare, and it's hurting people at an individual level where they can't afford their prescriptions. And the people at the executive level in the government, they don't know. They just are like, oh, is Big Pharma doing it? And then they start to look at PBMs and they're like, well, maybe it's all the incentives, it's all of the rebates they're getting. First of all, it's so much more than that. And even if you were to cut the rebates off, we all know that they're prepared. They have a whole team of people. They're ready. You cut the rebates off, they're going to find another way to get the money back. And then it's a whole fight, which is why the language and the fight needs to be clear and concise about how pharmacies are reimbursed and about how they're going to be able to handle claims. And if it is not so clear and concise, where it cuts out all of the potential new games and bullshit that they're doing, it's never going to end. They're 6 steps ahead of you, guy. You're the government trying to regulate them, and they have fucking a million idiots up there that they're paying, coming up with, well, if they put this law against us, we're going to get them that way. But if you clearly state and you set a reimbursement level that cannot be argued, that cannot be fought, well, now there's something to be talked about.
Well, Kevin, let me tell you about the Pharmacist Fight Back Act. HR 9096 that we have been pushing, because it does exactly that and takes care of all the steering and all the nonsense on the back end and the retroactive fees that they can use to come in and take back all that we're being reimbursed. It is, Greg put together such a good bill with Auchincloss and Harshbarger. Like, it is, they thought 5 steps ahead on it. They planned it out really well. And this will be a bill that's going to get pharmacy in the right place. And that's going to make us do better. That's going to make your all's company do better. It's going to make healthcare better for patients.
By the way, I want you guys to share that stuff with me. And Sarah, I genuinely mean this. I want to start sharing some of the initiatives that you guys are doing, with all of our customers, because I want our customers to recognize PUT and what they're doing, and I want them to get involved. So, as you guys are doing stuff, I mean, at the very least monthly, anything you have that you want us to share, I want you to come up with something and share with our customers and say, this is what PUT's doing for you. This is their member base. It's growing. And you know what? At the very least, you should be donating something and being involved and become a member and care, because they're out there fighting for you, man. Like, they're not just fighting for somebody in their state. They're fighting for the whole country. And I got to tell you, I truly believe it's a fight worth having. I really do.
Yeah.
I think that mail order is always going to have its place. I think that Amazon is going to have its place. I think Mark Cuban, let me tell you something, Mark Cuban and those guys, let me tell you, for a little bit, I think I was a little worried about what they were going to do, but I'm noticing how even Mark is an advocate. I like that someone with his voice and his recognition is going after the PBMs as well, and what they're doing and vocalizing it. So I definitely want to share that with our customers, and I want to get them more involved. And I hope that you guys can get out there and let the pharmacy world know. And again, I think that your message should be, we're stronger together. We outnumber Walgreens and CVS combined. We just need to get you all together. You're all part of all these different organizations, and these other organizations have so many other things going on. Yes, NCPA is a voice for you, but NCPA has a trade show and has all these other things they're doing. PUT just has a fight for pharmacy. That's what they have. There's nothing else but a fight for your fucking future, period, end of story.
I'm here to punch people in the dicks. I'm not here to make money.
or friends.
His bar has lowered even further.
I'm a simple man.
Punch people in the mouth, but I'm just going to say we didn't endorse punching in the genitals. So just saying for everyone out there. And Kevin,
I'm here for it, Jeremy.
That's right. Who am I talking to? Of course you're here. Kevin and Sarah, we appreciate so much your endorsement of our work, and also really your love for our industry, because I have adopted it as my industry myself. When you get to know what this work is about and what happens at the independent healthcare provider level, but especially at the independent pharmacy level, you can't ever walk away from that. I mean, that we're talking about, like, Howard, I was going to ask if, Tom D'Angelo, who's also.
Of course we do.
Right?
Tom has been, Tom owns, I think, is it 1 or 2 locations? He had 2.
A couple. He definitely has at least 2. Yeah.
He's great. And they're just 2 of, like, or Steve Moore or Danny Dang or Parth Shaw, or really any of the Pisney guys, or even the New Jersey guys, or the Kentucky Independents or the Louisiana Independents. You get to know these people across the country, and what you see providers who are there in their community, and they love their community, and they are there for their patients, and their patients love them. And it comes from everything that you two have been talking about tonight, starting with the kind of culture that you build and where you came from and where it started, all the way, down to, like, even being, like, annoyed at your customers for not seeing how they sometimes shoot themselves in the foot, right? Like, we're the same way at PUT. Like, we're just always fascinated by how we can get so far, and then somehow we manage to stumble on our own feet, right? Just as an industry. But it's such a joy to have this time with you, and I just really want you to know how much we appreciate you. Truly, truly, truly. You guys are fantastic, and I hope you will be in New York next time we all get a chance to get together.
Raise a drink, everyone. We're coming to the end of our drinks, as Monique says. We'll raise our glass.
I'm out.
And Sarah, who would have a water bottle, under other circumstances. So
this has been PBM on the Rocks, everyone.
To learn more about Pharmacists United for Truth and Transparency and how you can help fight PBM abuse of our healthcare system, visit our website at truthrx.org.